Hey, I'm Leona Nicole Black, and it's a pleasure to be here with you for your monthly zodiac reading. Just a couple of things I wanted to make you aware of before we get into the message. Firstly, that I'm doing daily tarot stories, so you can follow that here on my YouTube channel or over on my Instagram page, Leona Nicole Black. The full script of the story is also posted on my website, nicoleblack.com/daily-tarot-story, and I pull the cards and allow them to inspire a piece of creative writing that expresses a message for not necessarily that day, because it's a much longer energy, but really just allowing myself to show up daily and be that oracle. That's the purpose of it. So the message isn't about Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It's more so that this is on a daily basis. This is my spiritual practice around allowing myself to bring a message through for you. So listen to it whenever you can, whenever it's feeling, that you feel called to it and it resonates. Secondly, for those of you who are interested in beginning tarot reading, or for yourselves, or have been reading for a short while, I did an amazing webinar. Thank you to everyone who came to it on August the 12th, and the playback of that content, that material, is now available on my website. It's called Intuitive Paths to Freedom: Finding Your Feet with Tarot. And you can find out all about what's included in that course on my website, nicoleblack.com/courses. The links will be in the description box. It's an hour and a half of tarot tuition, and it's only £22. So if you're interested in developing your practice and getting to know tarot cards, then I suggest you have a look at that. Thank you so much for supporting me and my work and embarking on that learning journey with me. Hey Aquarius, this is for Sun, Moon and Rising. So let's get into your reading pretty immediately. The normal spread I do, we're beginning with how you're showing up in the world this month. Again, what energy are you projecting out there? How are you approaching your life and your challenges? You've got to begin with the Queen of Swords, Libra energy. This is dope. What I feel here for you, Aquarius, is that you come to a point of understanding. This energy feels like clarity to me. You've had some clarity about yourself, where you are, the journey that you've been on. There's something about where you found yourself now, where you're like, you're having an aha moment, an understanding moment, but it's all internal as well. I feel like you're experiencing this level of clarity and understanding through actually like internal reflection, as in it's really come to you through you. It's not that someone else has had to say to you, oh, you were messing up in this area, or, no one really had to externally give you this message. You came to it on your own. And it has a lot to do with how you engage with people and your place in the world, but particularly in relationships, and that's not just the sexual nature. You can, need to be distant, aloof, and get on with things, and to work on your vision and see things through. But for you, Aquarius, I think the times when you've wanted to connect, the times when you've wanted to build community, the times when you've wanted to be part of the circle, part of the friendship group, when you've really wanted to feel that kind of bondedness, there's sometimes been a little discord there, like sometimes not feeling loved enough, not feeling respected enough, not feeling wanted enough, or being in the midst of people lacking a sense of belonging. And so this card here is actually you coming to a better understanding about what that is about and why that is. And I think for a lot of you, some of those emotions are internal. They're not really about how other people are feeling about you. You're actually highly valued in your life, but you've been finding it difficult to connect, and now you're finally understanding why. And as a result of that, there's something very I want to say emotional, to be honest, going on with you right now, because you've got the Four of Wands here. But this is you wanting to find roots. This is you wanting to come home, Aquarius. This is you wanting to negotiate the boundaries of like who you are and what you need in the context of having the support of people around you. Okay, so this isn't being the lone wolf Aquarius who's just out there in the world. This is being the Aquarius who lives with someone and has like their own office space. Do you know what I mean? Like, that sounds so silly, but I just mean it in the sense of finding ways to take the distance that you need to function, because you need it, whilst being in connection and community with people, and you're starting to have a sense of what that looks like for you and what that means for you, and you're desiring it. You're desiring family, you're desiring home, particularly. You want to be at home with people. You actually, for some of you, very specifically, you want to live with someone. If you're living with family already, you want to move out and establish your own family home. For some of you, you might be living independently and you're wanting, you know, people in the home with you, a partner. For some of you, you are separated from your children and you want to live, you want that experience of living with your child, not visiting. Do you know what I mean? Like, the home is coming up very strongly for you, and it's because you're really understanding the role of others in your life now. You've always kind of known yourself fairly well. Well, you think you do. Sometimes I think Aquarius doesn't always see what others can see, but you have confidence about yourself, at least, and confidence about what you are, what you need, and what you want to do. But now you're understanding how other people fit into that picture, and you're really desiring to bring them into it. Four of Wands is also can be a marriage card here. So for some of you, you're wanting to take existing commitments to the next level. You know, you want to get married, move in, like it feels very, very nesty to me, this card. So what's the context for that? Well, you've got the King of Wands in reverse here. And with the King of Wands here, Aquarius, you have seen the way your personal power has gotten out of control a bit. So this can be for you acting on impulse or making decisions that are only based on what you want, what you think, and what you desire. And it's not because you don't know what other people want, but it's more so that it's just been, you have been your first and only priority in some ways. And it's just been, well, I hear you, but I'm only doing this, or I hear you, but I'm not prepared to do that, or I hear you, but I'm on this particular road, I'm on this particular journey, and that's what I'm doing. And you have almost let that independence and that maverick nature, which makes you a pioneer, which makes you groundbreaking, which makes you bring in new concepts, new ideas, new practical things that everybody needs. That part of you has actually become a vice in some ways, because you've become rogue and law unto yourself. And without the community to be rooted and bonded in, what you're doing doesn't mean anything to you, really. It doesn't really make any sense. And so with this card in reverse, you've actually realized that, oh, I've built my kingdom, so to speak, but it's lonely. Doing well at certain things, but for what? And you've looked around, Aquarius, and you've seen Six of Pentacles in reverse. The imbalance, but particularly the impoverishment and the lack of reciprocity of giving and receiving in your life. Now, use your intuition to know where you stand on the either side of this coin, because for some of you, this is actually, well, there's a few ways to read this. For some of you, this is creating impoverishment through your absence, as in you have things to give, to contribute, okay, to individuals in terms of like who you are, your time, your energy, your love, your personality. On a higher level, your gifts spiritually, your gifts physically, your purpose, your work. And you've been out, you've not really been here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've been absent. So you've looked and seen how other people have like suffered somewhat from your absence, how other people could have benefited from your presence. For some of you, like I said, this is actually about your children. It's about feeling like you haven't been there enough for them, either physically in the home, if you live with them, like maybe working too much, or just being a bit overly focused on yourself at the expense of your children. For others of you, it's like you can't be there for your children because of the breakdown in the relationship. And so, you know, you're seeing the way that your child is lacking materially, emotionally, because you're prevented from being there for them in the ways that you would like to be or need to be. For others, it's that you yourself have become impoverished. Let me turn this card upright so you can see it. You have become impoverished through lack of relationship, lack of community. For some of you as well, it's that part of the reason that you stepped away from community is because you were this person in the red, which was the person that had to give all the time. You were the person who had the ideas, the money, the time, whatever it is. Like every time you were coming into community with you felt like people were showing up like beggars. And you just were like, do you know what? Forget it. Do you know what I mean? I don't need it. But you suffered as well. There's so many different ways to read this card, but ultimately there's an energy of lack. And part of the lack is because not everybody is showing up in their power. You, all the other people involved, someone is there and not in their power. But you have, like I said, come to an understanding of the role you play in that dynamic, whether you're the person who's been disempowered or you're the person who's always showing up in their power. You just get it now. And you've been you're moving on. You've got the Six of Swords here. Mentally, you're moving on. Mentally, you're moving on from the way that you were assessing things before. Some of you realize, I said this to you last month, some of you realize that you judge people a bit harshly. You realize that maybe you didn't have the full picture. Maybe you have a new understanding. Different information's come to you now and you're like, I get it. I see things differently, and you're moving on from an old way of seeing things. But I feel like I've been saying this to you for a while. So this seems to be a long journey, Aquarius. This moving on for you seems to be taking time. You are a fixed sign after all. Now, what I also feel from this card is that you're not actually moving on alone, and that in some ways, part of the reason this is taking time is that you're bringing people on the journey with you. And it's not negative. You think you should. You have been responsible for people. I don't know why the energy of children is coming through very strongly in this reading. So for some of you, your parents, and part of the reason it's taken you long is because you've had responsibilities for the care, and not just the physical care, not just like keeping them safe, but actually the emotional and spiritual growth of your children. And so you've been leaving environments, leaving relationships, trying to leave jobs, like doing things where it's taking you time because you have to make sure that every choice you make, you can bring your children along with you. But others of you, it's friends and family, or just like business ideas. It can be like a business that you've invested in, you know, put a lot of time and energy into. And so you needed to kind of move on from outgrowing it, but it took its time. You know, you couldn't just up and go. It took its time. So this is taking its time, but the wisdom that you gain, the good thing about it, Aquarius, is the energy I feel is that you're taking people on this journey with you. Other people are benefiting from your personal growth, from your lesson. Now, what you're seeing as well, because you had the High Priestess in reverse, and what you're seeing is that part of the missing picture that you had that is now beginning to fill in for you. The reason that you have this Libra-like quality of like understanding, particularly in terms of personal relationships, is that you weren't really tapped into your intuition before. The King of Wands here didn't have the patience for it. He is intuitive. He has the wand. He's a fire sign. The energy came through. But he allowed himself to be driven by impulse. He didn't allow himself to sit with that energy to kind of really understand that message. And he didn't seek any external wisdom, driven by his own ideas only. And so what it means is that sometimes that intuition that was coming through was accurate but immature, unrefined, undeveloped, needed a spiritual advisor, needed a community to refine it, and it wasn't there. So it's not that you were lacking intuition, but purely that you were acting prematurely. And the High Priestess here is about spiritual maturity. It's also about secrets. And so what it's saying is that there were things that you didn't understand, things being kept from you, things that you didn't know, things people were feeling, experiencing that you just were oblivious to. That you've now got it, you see it. So what's the lessons for you this month, Aquarius? Your spiritual lessons as a result of that energy. Well, it's interesting because it seems like you need to take your time, because you've got the Eight of Wands card here in reverse, and the Eight of Wands is normally swift energy, moving fast. But it's your spiritual lesson, and so what it's saying is actually you are moving forward, but don't now run. Continue to move slowly. Continue to honor who needs to come with you on the journey, and the fact that they may need more time, or they, you know, if you're walking with children, they can't walk as fast as you. Like, and I'm just using that as a metaphor. It's not just for the parents here. And when I say parents as well, it's not just those of you with biological children. It's just those of you who have connection to or any kind of involvement or responsibility for children. You could be godparents, aunts, uncles. Do you know what I mean? So it's saying that actually you can move forward, but you have to continue to move slowly. This isn't the time to now just leap and jump. I also feel that there's a process of like maturation to happen. Wow. So look, the Queen of Swords to the Four of Wands. Some of you want to just run back now and establish this Four of Wands because like you get it, like I said, but Spirit is saying don't do that. And the energy that I'm feeling, there's a couple in hip hop, Toby and Fat. I'll leave a link to their story in the description box. But well, the energy that's coming through for me here is that some of you listen to their story, listen to their love story, listen to the. I'm going to leave a link. You can go and watch the story about how they came together and the time that it took. And what I'm feeling for some of you is that, you know, when Toby returned to Fat, who's his now wife, and kind of offered her love and commitment, there was a period of time in which she had to watch to see the proof of this, you know, because she'd been let down a lot by him. And when I say let down a lot, as in he'd not been in the position to give her that love and commitment previously. And that obviously had been disappointing for her and, you know, emotionally difficult. So when he offers it, not for the first time, she's like, okay, I don't know about this, and she has to wait and see. And what I'm feeling is that for some of you, there is almost a premature energy here of that now that you understand, you want to run forward or run backwards, whichever direction it is. It's either returning to someone or running towards the thing that you now know that you want, the community, the partnership, the job, the whatever. But you want to do it fast because you just feel like, oh, I get it and I've wasted time. But what Spirit is saying is that they don't want you to do this prematurely because you need to be able to show and prove. You don't want to turn up with words only. You don't want to show up and only be like, oh yeah, I've got this idea. Oh yeah, I want to do this thing, but you've got no means of demonstrating it. So Spirit's like, don't run back yet. Continue to work on this understanding that you have so that when you return, remember, like I said, there's been imbalance and impoverishment here. So when you return, you've got something to give to restore the balance. And the 8 here, you've got 2 8s. So this is about your cycle, your pattern of behavior. With this 8 here, this 8 of Swords is saying that part of your spiritual lesson and part of the reason that you shouldn't run right now and that you should take the time that's involved with the 6 of Swords is you need to understand how you got trapped yourself, how you played into this entrapment that is represented in this card. How you allowed yourself to be blind to what was going on around you. And you need to know that because as you enter into situations again, you need to be able to see how you get, really, I see the water spilt here about your emotional needs. Like you need to know how you can be in community and get your needs met. You need to know how you can be in community and have your autonomy, your distance, you know, your space to create, your space to pursue your purpose. Because I really feel like, you know, Aquarius is one of the most independent signs in the zodiac. And when you talk about you guys being distant or aloof, it's not out of heartlessness, it's out of purpose. Because you want to do something with yourself, higher purpose. But you need to know how to do both, how to be in community and pursue that purpose. And you have an energy of feeling like being in community with people it can lead to entrapment and not getting your needs met emotionally. Or being overwhelmed by other people's needs emotionally. And so they're spilling. That's what I see down here. They're spilling on you. They're spilling also in your path forward. You feel like, look, I'm trying to do this. And all you're doing is like making me responsible for your feelings and stopping me from moving forward. I feel trapped. So there's an energy of entrapment. Now you understand now how other people are feeling in your role, but you need to understand what your entrapment triggers are. What makes you feel stuck? What makes you feel trapped? But not just understanding it, you need to know what you yourself can put in place to not do that, because you have a lack of trust in other people, Aquarius. You don't want to give yourself like that. In order to be in community or to have love in your life, there's a certain amount of surrender to somebody else that you don't really want to do, because you don't want to be in a position of feeling like this. But Spirit's saying you need to know that you have done this to yourself, and when you get here, it's because you've surrendered to this energy. So you need to know what is it that you can put in place in your life to keep yourself free in the ways that you need, so that you don't have to distrust people, because there are people who want to honor your freedom. There are people who want to learn, particularly in the same way that you've had your understanding, your learning moment of the Queen of Swords. They also want to learn and understand you, but you have to be there for them to do that. And you're busy going, no, I don't want to get trapped. But look, teach yourself your own rules of engagement. Teach yourself the basis of your independence, so that you can go to others and they can learn with you, so that when they spill their water in front of you and give you their feelings to hold, which people naturally do, especially water signs, especially Cancer, no shade, or especially Pisces, no shade, Scorpio less so. You need to be able to say, hey, I see you're experiencing things emotionally. I see that you're wanting things from me. The way that you're doing it is making me feel blocked in these ways. Let's talk about how I can respond to your emotions without getting trapped here, because this road needs to be clear for me. I still need to do these things, but let's talk about what I can do. Don't spend all your time, Aquarius, talking about what you can't do. Talk about what you can do in these contexts, okay? Your spiritual lessons right now. So advice for you based on those spiritual lessons. What can you basically do? Right now it's not time, your card, the Star card here, this is the Aquarius card. The Star card is in reverse. It's saying right now is not the time to be in the fantasy and the dream of a thing. No, right now is time to deal with the practical reality of your life, the lessons that you've been shown, the journey that you need to take. It's also not a resting point for you. It's a movement point. And what you need to do is overcome the energy of discord and disagreement. Five of Swords in reverse here. There have been arguments, relationship breakdown, ideas that failed, business ideas particularly. You need to overcome this now. So for lots of you, it's going back to people. It's a reconciling energy. It's going back to people. It's apologizing. It's explaining yourself. It's going back to an idea and seeing if there's anything still within that you can take forward. But you need to overcome this energy of like, when things get difficult or where there's imbalance, you cut and run. And I told you, Aquarius, very often this energy comes out for you. It might as well be your card. Seven of Swords. Whenever I'm reading for Aquarius, like even on one-to-one readings, this energy is so popular for you because this is your avoidance. And I get it. As a Virgo with a Hermit archetype, I will duck, I will step out. I'll be like, this isn't working for me. I'm going to go into Hermit mode. I'm going to separate myself from people. I'm going to make myself unavailable emotionally, spiritually, mentally, for communication, for anything. I'm no longer here. I occupy my own space in my spiritual space. I know this. But that is often empowering for a Virgo. This energy here for you, you can see that two swords always get left behind. And you need them all. This is about you sneaking away. This is about you avoiding things. This is about you trying to get things done without all the resources. You don't really want to involve other people if you can. You try and do it by yourself instead. Spirit's like, you've really got to stop this, Aquarius. You've got to stop. You are actually, Aquarius is the 11th house, community. Groups, friendships. You are actually the archetype that represents the coming together of groups of people. So stop avoiding the interpersonal dynamic. Of course you can get lost in the groups and not really have to do anything, but Spirit doesn't want you to just be in the big group, in the fray, not really known by anybody. You deserve to cultivate intimate relationships too, but you need to stop avoiding, particularly yourself. This September, it's time to begin. Start planting some seeds, to start establishing what you really want to see in your life. You're feeling all this homey energy, feeling all this desire to nest. You want to build it. Spirit's like, okay, this doesn't get done overnight. You can't just run back and demand it. You can start planting the seeds though. You can start prepping. You can start making sure that you actually have something to give in this situation. Start thinking, for those of you who are responsible for children, this is how you grow the seed this month, so that there is a tree and fruit for the children to eat from in the future. This is like, this is taking the initial steps to get what you want down the road. But it's time to take action on your understanding. It's just not fast action. The pages are a younger energy. They're just the inception of a thing. You know, they've taken something from the king and the queen and they're creating something new. It's a new energy. So it takes time to develop, but it's time to plant it. Now, I just want to share with you your Venus retrograde messages, Aquarius. You have, or we have, Venus retrograde coming up. She's currently in her shadow period. She'll go retrograde on the 5th of October, I believe. And Venus represents our values in terms of like where we place value and how we measure value to your money. She represents your values in terms of like what we think is valuable, so art, beauty, etc. And then she represents the highest value, which is the energy of love. For Venus retrograde, as she goes into like a shadow period, as it appears that she's going backwards, as we go into ourselves, as we start to interrogate. Sorry about that siren. I mean, I don't know why I'm apologizing. I don't have any control, but it's light. It was loud. Take that as an alarm bell for this message. We've got 10, 9, 10. So she goes and starts getting you to really look at your values internally. Your Venus retrograde period is about understanding these 3 things for you. That's what you need to do to increase your understanding so you can take right action in the world. 10 of Pentacles, what does this look like for you? What is wealth? Not just richness, not just having money. What does a wealthy life look like for you? And for you, Aquarius, the wealthy life has to include the whole community. What can you do in your life? How can you build, create systems, create experiences, create art, create a home situation? Like, what can you create that sustains more than yourself, that sustains lots of people? Or how can you create things that are beneficial to others, that add value to the lives of others? For some of you, it's just showing up and giving yourself who you are, sharing of yourself. 9 of Cups, what does your emotional satisfaction look like? What makes you feel satisfied, like really satisfied? What do you need now? And 10 of Cups, who needs to be involved in that picture? Ask yourself now, Aquarius, what person do you need? What situation do you need? What people, what family members, what friendships? What makes you happy, and who in your life can you see is a part of that vision? These are your Venus retrograde questions. Okay, I love you, Aquarius. It's a pleasure to do your reading, and I will see you next month. Mwah! If you want a personal reading from me, it's nicoleblack.com/services.